have a go.
You'll have a go, since Aiden's gonna fall asleep this time.
It's alright.
Yes,
We saw
sir.
chapter 1.
Definitely will, but I'm gonna get to the end.
Alright, well, since we're starting a new one, we should recap. Just do a quick recap for, there you go, Dilly Dilly.
Anybody watches
That's
it? If anybody watches it later.
Yeah, if anyone joins
You want to follow along, Sophie?
and watch, follow along with Sophie.
Can she read? Is she literate?
She can read, bitch. That's why she's up here with me, not down there with you.
Damn, didn't. Alright.
Roasted,
I'm
dude.
sorry, that was really mean,
He
Aiden.
did get
That
you.
was really mean. Very uncalled for.
Yeah, that was funny.
I'll accept the apology.
I don't think he apologized.
Because what he did.
Alright, so in the prologue.
Sorry, Aiden.
I mean, it wasn't too much to go into the prologue. I wanted to keep the prologue pretty short because prologues are tough. I rewrote the prologue probably 22 times before I finally got that.
You read the book like 22 times.
That's true, but the prologue itself was like twice that. Yeah. But so prologue, basically, they're walking home. They're walking back to Silva. She's got the 4 kids with her. She's all beat up, tattered, bruised. She's got 10 years before Vincent is forced to make the trek, become a guardian. So he trains them. So they all four of these guys have 10 years worth of training, non-stop, every day, training.
Joe Rogan podcast.
Name drop. All right.
All day.
yeah, basically. They listen. They just
Train by day, whispers of war by night.
Whispers of war by night, train by day. So stupid.
You can't do that. This is copyright.
Yeah. It's not used to promote anything.
Is that why we're on Rumble, Mike?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think it's all. It's like I said, it's not much. You have to know Victor is Vincent's father. He died because he betrayed the king's orders. They found the kids on the battlefield and brought them home. That's all you got. Any questions?
Nope, that's
Nope.
pretty gay though.
Okay. Why is it gay?
Because that's all we got so far.
Yeah, well, you're about to get more, so shut up and fall asleep, boy. I'm about to read you
Shut
to
up.
sleep. I'm about to read you to sleep. My magical words.
Do it.
Brother likes bedtime, so.
Alright.
Yeah, boy.
Hell yeah, the first time
Alright.
you ever read me a book.
Chapter 1. The clash of swords rang through the cool summer air as the sun rose to its peak. 2 of Fira's children were exchanging blows with a swift and precise movements in a training yard surrounded by wooden houses, shops, and stables that all rested atop lush green grass. A refreshing breeze swam through the air, gliding across the droplets of sweat on their brows before vanishing into dense trees, full of vibrant leaves that longed to graze the cotton clouds above. Gardeners tilled small yards that yielded a motley array of colorful weeds and flowers, while children ran and giggled through the roads, stumbling about. Shopkeepers remained steadfast in the face of haggling customers searching for a more preferable price. Guards clad in brown leather took their spears for a leisurely walk adjacent to the tall and pointed wooden pillars that lined the perimeter of Silva, the city buried deep within the eastern woods. Fira watched the sparring match from just outside an oak fence that acted as the boundary line for the training arena. She scanned over every one of their movements, ready to critique them on even the smallest of errors. Only a few minutes into the match, after they both had exchanged a series of attacks, Fira had already had words of criticism for each of them. She leaned slightly to her left without taking her eyes off the battle before her. Vincent, tell me what Vera is doing wrong right now. Vincent was leaning over the fence with his arms folded on top of each other. He analyzed the fight in front of him for a moment. His green eyes paid no mind to the loose strands of golden brown hair in front of them as they searched for the answer his mother was looking for. Barrick has the reach on her, he answered. She's letting him keep too much space between them. Fira nodded. And what about Barrick, Alexandra? Alexandra stood beside Fira, mimicking her firm posture. Her fierce dark blue eyes were locked onto the fight. Her arms were crossed in front of her leather breastplate, and a dark leather glove covered her left hand. chestnut-colored ponytail split into 3 thick braids, one on either side of her head and one down the middle. She allowed the gap of silence to linger in the air as she watched the battle. Her eyes narrowed as she focused on the larger 2 combatants. At first, she found no blatant mistakes in his actions. It was not until both of their swords collided that she realized his fault. Well, Fira prodded. She may be giving him the reach, but he's not taking advantage of it, or anything else. He pulls back when he should have attacked, and he's not using anywhere close to his full strength. I think he's too worried he's going to hurt her. A smirk grew across Vincent's face. Well, he did put you all but in the stars with 1 punch the other day, he said without turning around. And I'm about to do the same to you as soon as they're finished, she fired back. Fira disregarded their squabble and began to shout, Get closer, Vera. He's bigger than you. And Barrick, if she does, show her your full strength. She paused as a smile snuck across her face. Otherwise, Vince will be cooking your dinner again. It wasn't that bad, Vincent said, trying to defend himself. I'm pretty sure it quacked at me, Alexander retorted. Vera's golden cherry hair bounced with every one of her steps, while each curl barely made it past her chin. 2 skinny braids twisted down to the center of her back. Barrick stood perfectly still on the balls of his feet, monstrously tall and broad-shouldered, analyzing the girl half his size as she rushed toward him. In order to even come close to hitting her, he needed to swing his sword at a downward angle. Still, she was too quick of a target. She ducked beneath his sparring sword, but before she was able to attack, Barrick launched his shoulder into her, forcing her into the ground. Dust burst into the air as she slammed into the dirt. She lay on the ground, gasping for air. As soon as Barrick lowered his sword to claim his victory, Vera launched her foot high into his groin and quickly lifted her sword to his neck. With both of them indicating a killing blow, Fira ended the match. That's enough, Fira called over to them. Both Vera and Barrick lowered their weapons and took a moment to catch their breath. You okay? Vera asked from her spot on the ground. Barrick held up a single finger for a moment before he answered her. He let out a long, deep breath of discomfort. Yeah, I'll be fine in a minute or 2. You? Vera groaned. It feels like Nexella threw me off the saddle into a tree at full speed. Barrick extended a meaty palm and pulled Vera up to her feet as if she weighed less than nothing. Both of them took their time hobbling back to the training yard gate, to Fira and the other 2. As soon as they stood in front of her, she began her lecture. No matter how well they performed, she always found something to critique. Vera, you're small, so fight small. Don't allow your opponent to take the opportunity to take advantage of your stature. Blend your strengths and weaknesses together so there won't be any part of you to exploit. Understood? Vera nodded and watched as Fira turned and began to speak to Barrick. The sun shone brightly behind her, giving her a golden, ethereal silhouette. Although the top of her head only rose to his chin, she still seemed taller than him somehow. She was the only one capable of making him appear smaller than he actually was. Having restraint is okay, but don't expect anyone to reciprocate. Pulling one too many punches could be a fatal mistake. Anyone out to kill you will surely take advantage of that should they notice. Fira rested a hand high on Barrick's shoulder. Don't allow your kindness to become your demise. I won't, Barrick said softly. I don't know, Bear, Vincent said, poking him in the side. You might be a little too soft for the Guardian lifestyle. Barrick swatted away Vincent's prodding fingers. Knock it off, he said. Here. Barrick forcefully handed his sparring sword to Vincent, pushing him away. All right, I take it back. The bear has a growl to him as well. Vincent turned and started to whistle cheerfully as he walked toward the center of the training yard. Barrick shook his head and turned to Alexandra. You mind taking him down a notch for me? I'll see what I can do, she said happily. Barrick plopped his arms down on the fence, causing the oak plank to bow underneath his weight. You think she'll take it easy on him this time? With hands on her hips, Fira confidently shook her head. I don't believe there's anything under the stars she loves more than to put that boy's arrogance in check. And if I had to guess, I'd say it being his birthday will only increase her enjoyment. As Vera stood silently next to Barrick, a mischievous grin grew across her face. His side was stretched out, vulnerable. With 2 fingers, she jabbed him in the midsection. Caught off guard, he jumped, and she started to laugh. Why? Barrick asked, mildly irritated. You should have seen how high you got. I'm gonna knock it off and pay attention, Fira said firmly, not letting him finish. Both of them quickly silenced themselves and turned their attention to the center of the training yard. Vincent and Alexander stood a few paces apart from each other, silent. Both of them were about the same height, clad in their leather armor, sparring swords at their sides, knees slightly bent, grips tightened, eyes locked. "I've got you this time," Vincent said confidently. "Only in your dreams," Alexander responded. In that moment, the silent second before the battle commenced, to them, everything faded. There was nothing else around them, nobody to see, no sounds to be heard. Time slowed to a near halt as the breeze drifted across the vacant ground beneath them. As if they had become permanent fixtures in a painting, motionless, they waited. "Begin," Fira shouted from the fence. Her voice met their ears, and as if her words carried some unknown power, their environment returned to normal. In a rush, everything raced back to real time. They charged. Alexander thrust her sword forward at Vincent's midsection. He swatted it away with ease. Using the momentum, she spun around and swept at his legs. Vincent fell to the ground and rolled away quickly. He rose to his feet, frustrated. "Always with the same move," he complained. Pleased with his reaction, Alexander smirked. "Stop falling for it, and I'll stop doing it." He gritted his teeth and launched toward her with a salvo of slashes. She blocked and dodged, remaining on the defensive until she found a chance to counter. Vincent raised his hands above his head, ready to bring his sword down on her. There it was. He had left himself wide open. She motioned to slash at his stomach. Vincent smiled. It was a feint. He sidestepped her slash and brought his sword down hard against hers, knocking it from her hands. He followed it up with a kick to her chest that sent her flying. He leaned over, picked up her sword, and twirled it in his hand. "I'm going to borrow this." Alexander climbed to her feet and glared at him under a furrowed brow. Slowly, as her enemy approached her, she raised her fists. His attacks came with speed and control, but not one of them found its mark. Much to Vincent's dismay, she continued to dodge and sidestep away from danger. While his opponent was unarmed, she was still in control of the fight. Annoyed with his inability to land a hit, Vincent threw one of the swords and dashed behind it. Alexander ducked beneath the projectile and met him sooner than he expected. She maneuvered around to his rear flank, wrapped her arms around his waist, lifted him high up over her shoulders, and slammed him into the ground behind her. All three of their spectators winced at the sight of him hitting the dirt. "That is definitely taking him down a notch," Barrick said with satisfaction. "Several notches," Farah corrected. When Vincent finally made it back on his feet, Alexander was already in front of him. His sword had tumbled to the side from the impact. With him no longer armed, the battle was even once again. 2 jabs came quickly for Vincent's head. Despite his daze, he managed to slip them both. However, he failed to see the left cross that followed. A leather glove connected with his cheek, creating a small cut. He hopped back to create space, and while he managed to buy himself a brief moment to shake off the hit, Alexander did not let up. She threw punch after punch at her target, but nothing landed. Vincent twisted his torso to duck beneath an incoming fist and launched an uppercut straight into her side. The counter was beautiful, but he mistakenly followed it with an overreaching hook. Alexander snatched his arm, threw her hips back into him, and pulled him over her down to the ground once more. This time, there would be no letting him up. She threw herself on top of him and unleashed a storm of closed hands. Vincent quickly threw his arms up to guard. "You can yield whenever you're ready, Vince," Alexander said confidently. Vincent was under a barrage of knuckles. He had to act quickly. He leaned to his left to avoid her next hit, and as soon as it flew past him, he launched his head forward, smashing into the bridge of her nose. She fell backwards with both of her hands covering her face. With Alexander disoriented, he scrambled for the nearby sword and swung it down on her. Down on one knee, Alexander caught the blunt blade in her left hand and yanked it from him, pulling his stomach right into her other fist. Vincent instantly dropped to his knees. Alexander stood up and lowered the weapon to Vincent's neck. She stared down the length of the sword in her right hand, victorious. Vincent hung his head just before looking back up at her. She lowered the sword and reached out with her left hand to help him to his feet. "Just once, you couldn't let me win?" "Maybe next time," she said with a wink. Vincent pointed to her already swollen nose, which was pouring blood out of both nostrils. "You got a little, She forcefully handed the sword to Vincent as she pinched her nose with 2 gentle fingers and tilted her head back. He started to chuckle. "I think I kinda won." His comment earned him an extra slug in the arm. Together they started to return to the others, Vincent rubbing his arm and Alexandra attempting to slow the blood loss from her nose. Once they reached the fence, Vera squeezed a wet cloth into a bucket on the ground next to her and held it to Alexandra's nose. After a moment, she took it away and inspected the injury. She placed her hand gently underneath Alexandra's chin and tilted her head back. Let me see. She poked at the bridge of her nose, making her twinge. Well, it's not broken. Just keep that there and you'll be fine. Barrick rested his hand on Vincent's shoulder. Yet another loss to Alex. Vincent quickly brushed away his hand. I'll get her next time. After all, I basically won this time. I don't know about that, bud. She may look worse, but tomorrow you're gonna feel worse for sure. I'll be fine. Vera laughed. Yeah, right. She slammed you so hard into the ground, my bones cracked. Barely felt it, Vincent said as he looked away. Barrick patted him on the back. Yeah, okay, bud. Regardless of who looks worse and who feels worse, Vera said as she began their evaluation, Alex won. Almost isn't going to count in a real battle. And Vince, in comparison to Alex, your hand-to-hand is horseshit. So you're saying it's gotten better? He joked. Vera ignored him and continued. How many times have I told you to stay on your feet? You're as good as dead on the ground. And as for you, Alex, you're going to have bigger problems than Vincent's head if you continue to get too confident. Nah, I don't think there's anything bigger than Vincent's head, Alexandra teased, her voice slightly muffled behind the wet cloth. Vincent crossed his arms and glared at her, unamused. Vera turned to face them all. You've all come a long way, and I'd feel confident with any one of you by my side in a battle. But you're not without faults. None of us are. What's important is that you recognize them and actively try to fix them. You may leave tomorrow, but your training is far from over. Every rising sun is accompanied by an opportunity for improvement. Don't forget that. We won't, Alexandra said. Well, you might if you take any more hits from Vince's thick head, Vera said jokingly. Everyone laughed as Vincent reached up to his forehead with his palm. Is it really that big? Are you guys sleeping? I think they passed out dilly-dilly.
I can't tell if that's like a positive thing or like a negative thing.
I think it's positive.
You think it's positive?
I think it's positive.
Because if it was negative, it means it was fucking boring. But I was paying attention, so I wouldn't say that necessarily.
Well, was it boring?
I think so.
Okay, well.
A fight scene.
It was a fight scene.
It's alright. We're learning some things. Meeting the characters, all
Yeah.
that. Putting fuckers to sleep.
This is what story time's all about.
Better hang on to page 18, Mike.
We'll do chapter 1, part 2 later.
So you have to.
Yeah. Since these guys.
Yeah, you know what? Plus side, the cat is still awake.
The cat is still awake. It's true.
I think she liked the story.
She's wagging her tail, so I'd wager.
I'd wager she's probably pissed off that she's hungry.
But did you not feed her?
I should feed her, yeah.
You should feed her.
Should. Well, I fed her this morning.
But you haven't fed her tonight.
Well, now, I mean, look at her.
She could use to lose a few pounds, I'd agree.
Put her on a diet.
Yeah, you probably should, mate.
And put some Yangling in her water bowl.
I don't know if you should do that.
No, I'm not gonna do that. That's a waste.
You fell asleep.
Yeah, I did.
We paused.
Do you remember what page you fell asleep on?
Yeah. It's the last thing you remember.
I don't remember.
We're gonna have to redo chapter 1.
I might.
Just
Yeah, as
rewatch
soon as you
the
said
just
chapter
rewatch
Do
the
it on my
stream.
own time.
Yeah, just rewatch the stream.
Just
You got a
rewatch
point.
the stream.
Yeah, true.
We stopped on page 18, so we'll do chapter 1, part 2 a different time.
Cool.
And Aiden's passed the fuck out too, so
Yeah, but we knew that was gonna happen.
we did know that was gonna happen.